Good day, everyone. For this Think Aloud, I will be using a very popular strategy for math Think Alouds. This is called the 3 reads strategy. So I will read the problem stem 3 times, and each time I will ask myself a different question. The first time I read, I'll ask, what is the situation? The second time I read, I'll ask, what are the quantities and are they related? And then the third time, I'll ask, what are the possible mathematical questions that can be asked in this situation? So now I'll introduce the text in which I am reading. It's a worksheet from Exceeding the Core found on teacherspayteachers.com. This material addresses Common Core Standards 7 NSA 1, 7 NSA 2, and 7 NSA 3. So just at first glance, I see the largest words are error analysis integers. This must be important information since it's the largest and bolded. Error is something incorrect and analysis is like an examination. So I can make a prediction that I will be examining some sort of inaccuracy. The word integer means whole numbers, but I'm confused as to what role integers will play. Maybe I will discover more as we read on. There is a subheading, which I can predict is the directions. It says, read the word problem. Look at the student's work and solution. Identify the error and describe it. Solve the problem correctly. Then share a strategy this student could use to prevent the same error in the future. There's a few words that I might need some further understanding of. I can always look this up in my glossary, or I can do an internet search to better support my understanding of the words in my directions. I see some bolded words, which probably means this portion is important. Based on the information from the directions, I can predict that this may be a word problem that was mentioned. It says a roller coaster. Okay, so since this seems like a hypothetical situation, I believe it is the word problem. So I can begin my first read of the problem stem, which means while I read it, I'm trying to figure out what the situation is about. A roller coaster at a theme park takes fans on an exciting ride. In the first 20 seconds, it carries passengers up a 30-meter hill, plunges them down 30 meters, and takes them back up at a 30-meter rise. So I'm going to use some of my prior knowledge to come up with a mental picture of the situation. So I have been on a roller coaster before, so in my mind, I'm imagining Disneyland's California Adventure, and the roller coaster is California Screaming. So within 20 seconds, the ride goes up, down, and up again. That's pretty fast. So now I'm going to begin my second reading of the problem stem, which means as I read, I'm going to try to find the quantities of the situation. I will also try to determine how or if the quantities are related. A roller coaster at a theme park takes fans on an exciting ride. In the first 20 seconds, it carries its passengers up a 30-meter hill, plunges them down 30 meters, and takes them back up a 15-meter rise. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 quantities here. If I break that down further, I might understand that 3 out of these 4 are the same unit of measurement. And if I break that down even further, I may understand that 2 out of those 3 are increasing. So now I'm ready for my third read. In my third read, I'm going to read the problem stem. I will be asking myself, what are the possible mathematical questions that could be asked in this situation? A roller coaster at a theme park takes fans on an exciting ride. In the first 20 seconds, it carries passengers up a 30-meter hill, plunges them down 30 meters, and takes them back up a 15-meter rise. So using my prior knowledge from class, I know we've learned about rates, so perhaps the question is going to be asking me to form a rate such as meters per second, or perhaps the question will ask me to find where the roller coaster sits after going up, down, and up again, so what the height would be. So now I'm going to read the question and find out if my prediction was correct. It says, how much higher or lower from the start of the ride are they after these 20 seconds? So one of my predictions was sort of close. This is showing how important it is to read the question rather than just assuming. But I do think my prediction has given me a better understanding of the question. The question wants me to to account for how high or perhaps how low the roller coaster is placed by the end of the 20-second sequence of ups and downs. As I continue reading, I see that there are 4 sections, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Because we are typically reading from left to right and top to bottom, I'm going to begin with the far left. In big bold letters, it says incorrect work solution. Well, I remember in the instructions it mentioned that I would be looking at a student's work and solutions, and since this is the only work and solutions on the paper, I think it's safe to assume that this is what the instructions were talking about. So there is a connection between this section of the worksheet and this section of the instructions. I'm going to continue working my way to the right. Since we read from left to right, I see large bold letters that say identify and explain the error. I remember in the instructions after mentioning the student's work, it said I would have to identify the error and describe it. I can assume that the error will be found where the incorrect work is, and for me to explain the error, I will need to describe it by writing on these lines here. So there's a connection between this section of our worksheet and this section of our instructions. As I read from top to bottom, next I'll read the bottom left where it says correct work solution. Well, I remember the directions said I would need to solve the problem correctly, so I can assume that this is where I would do that because there's a connection between this section and this section of our instructions. I will continue reading to the right where it says share a strategy. In my instructions it said share a strategy this student could use to prevent the same error in the future. So I see matching words of share a strategy and share a strategy. So this would be the section where I would share the strategy that this student could use to prevent the same error in the future. Okay, now that I finished my reading, I feel more confident. I understand the word problem better than, and now I think that ultimately I will perform better. So this concludes my Think Aloud. I hope it was helpful, and thank you for watching.